let's talk about something we've all probably seen, but maybe not fully understood. When someone in your life just goes quiet. They stop replying, they stop showing up, and they basically pull away from everything. Seriously, think about it for a second. 1 minute, you're talking like normal, everything seems fine, and the next, just silence. There was no big fight, no dramatic blow-up, they just kind of fade out. And from the outside, it can feel really confusing, maybe even a little personal. And our first instinct is usually to judge, right? We think, wow, that person is so cold, or they're being arrogant, or maybe we assume they're just unstable. But what if that's not the story at all? What if behind that silence, there's a much, much deeper story about self-preservation? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to peel back the layers on this. We're going to get into the real psychology of why someone might need to disappear for a while to heal. And spoiler alert, it's not about being dramatic. It's about survival.
Okay, so reason number one is something called psychological overload. Think of your brain like a computer. It can only run so many programs at once before it starts to overheat. When you're dealing with constant emotional pressure, nonstop criticism, or just endless demands on your energy, your brain eventually hits a limit. It just flips a switch and goes into a kind of protection mode.
And this quote it nails the feeling perfectly. It's not about trying to hurt anyone. It's a deep, desperate need for air. Creating that distance literally feels like the only way to finally catch your breath and just switch your brain off for a minute. And that leads right into our second big reason, what you could call a boundary awakening. This happens a lot to people who've spent their entire lives just tolerating things. They're the people pleasers, the ones who ignore red flags and bend over backwards to meet everyone else's needs. So when they finally hit that wall, the change isn't gradual, it's sudden. And why is that? Well, because after years of letting your boundaries get trampled, the idea of trying to slowly negotiate new ones just feels impossible. It's exhausting. Frankly, it's just safer and easier to remove the source of that pressure entirely. This is a huge one for anyone who's ever been the emotional support system for their circle. You know who you are? You're the one everyone calls. You're the listener, the advisor, the rock. But all of that emotional labor, it takes a toll. And eventually, you just hit burnout. And this is the part we really have to get. This disappearing act, it's not mean. It's empty. It's what happens when you have spent so much time and energy minimizing your own needs for others that you literally have nothing left in the tank. Not for them, and not even for yourself. And finally, there's the identity reset. This happens when you've gone through a period of major personal growth. You kind of wake up one day, look around, and realize, this isn't me anymore. My old friends, my old habits, my old life, it just doesn't fit who I'm becoming. Psychologists sometimes call this identity reconstruction. And so you pull away. You do it because on some deep level, you know you need some quiet. You need the space to figure out who you are now without the constant pressure of everyone else's expectations and their memories of who you used to be. Okay, so we've looked at the why, but now let's totally reframe this whole thing. What does going silent actually say about a person? Because far from being a sign of weakness, in a lot of cases, it's actually a sign of some serious inner strength. First off, we've got to understand the difference between solitude and loneliness. They are not the same thing. Loneliness is that painful feeling of being alone when you don't want to be. But solitude, that's an intentional choice. It's a tool you use to find clarity and peace in the quiet. And choosing solitude like this, it reveals some pretty powerful things about a person. It points to a strong sense of who you are, an internal locus of control, which basically means you get your validation from yourself, not from others. You don't need likes or public approval to feel good. And most importantly, it shows you feel safe with yourself, not just when you're surrounded by other people. So let's bring it all home. If you're listening to this and you see yourself in any of it, if you're that person who is pulled away to heal, this next part is especially for you. It's all about trusting your own process. Let's just be crystal clear about this. You're not broken. You're not difficult. You're not too sensitive or any of the other labels people might try to put on you. Your response isn't a flaw. It's a feature. You're simply protecting your own wiring. Your mind and body are doing exactly what they're supposed to do. They're telling you to seek peace and restoration when your well-being is under threat. So here's the bottom line. It is absolutely okay to choose your own peace. You don't have to explain it. You don't have to apologize for it. Protecting your energy isn't selfish, it's essential for survival. And I'll just leave you with this to think about. We're taught that being social and being on 24/7 is the sign of a healthy, happy person. But what if that's not the whole story? What if the real act of strength, the real act of self-love, is knowing when to go quiet? What if choosing silence is actually choosing yourself?